Can you smell it? Ladies and gentle hunters, we got a new Monster Hunter Wilds pre-launch commentary update already. We're just bathing in new Monster Hunter content. Now, shall we have a look-see?
Hello everyone and welcome to the Monster Hunter Wilds pre-launch community update. My name's Jono, EME Community Manager on Monster Hunter.
Hey everybody, I'm Joe. I'm the Capcom USA Community Manager on Monster Hunter.
And welcome to our broadcast, which for the very first time will be bilingual in English and Japanese, which is a brand new concept for us. So we hope you enjoy it. And you'll probably not be surprised to find out why we're having it in English and Japanese, because as you can see, we have two very special guests with us. We have Monster Hunter Wilds director Yuya Tokuda, as well as Patrick from Capcom Europe, who will be translating for us.
I love to watch translators work. I can't wait to see you perform, Patrick.
It's great to have you guys. Thank you so much for coming. Now, Joe, we've introduced our esteemed guests. We've said hello, but why are we here today?
Yeah, today is a really special stream. Again, we have some special guests here joining us, and we would like to share a sincere thank you to everybody out there who participated in the open beta test that we held at the end of October. And today we're going to be spending some time talking about how a lot of the feedback from that open beta has influenced the development of the main game. So just to kind of recap, the open beta was held with a couple of goals. The first, I think the most obvious one is we were able to give everybody a chance to play the game. It's a new hunting experience, new game, and it was great seeing everybody's responses. But the second part of that was really to test the different technology that's in the game, things like network load and game operation. So it was really great to see everybody's feedback and responses, but the team has really been working on the full game separately and making a lot of improvements and adjustments. And again, we just want to share thanks to everybody for sharing your feedback either through social media, our official survey, or through different places online. And while a lot of that feedback covered some known issues and things that we originally already planned to address in the final version of the game, a lot of the feedback actually covered some bugs and things that the team was not aware of or didn't intend to fix. So it was extremely helpful. And some of those fixes and adjustments are now prioritized for the final game, thanks to your feedback. And we're going to talk about a lot of that today. Jono, we actually had a round of previews go live recently, right? And that actually had some details that we're going to discuss today.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And the community response to that was fantastic. So if you have seen the previews, you will recognize some of the content in today's broadcast, but there is so much more. And on top of that as well, this stream is an opportunity for the development team to speak directly to you, to introduce even more and clarify what you may have seen in the previews as well. But please do keep in mind that this isn't fully comprehensive. There's even more adjustments to the final game beyond what you will see here today. And what is shown may not necessarily be final and is, of course, always subject to change. Now, obviously, now we've covered that. Let's talk about our guests. Obviously, having director Yuya Tokuda here is
show me the director.
So much fun. And Patrick will be doing the Japanese to English, so you'll be hearing a lot of them both. So Tokuda-san, what would you like to say to everyone before we get stuck in?
はい、最初に徳田さんから自己紹介やコメントをお願いします。
はい、モンスターハンターワイルドディレクターの徳田優です。今日はこのような場を設けていただきありがとうございます。
Damn, translating with the
僕は
fucking
モンスターハンター G から20年間
iPod
モンスターハンターを
headphones.
作り
That's so
続けて
brave.
おります。今日はよろしくお願いします。
Hello everyone, I'm Yuya Tokuda, the director of Monster Hunter Wilds. It's really nice to be here with you guys today. It's a good opportunity to speak to you directly. I've been working on the Monster Hunter series for 20 years now, ever since Monster Hunter G times. So yeah, good to get a chance to talk to you and let's have fun.
Amazing, yeah. With the open beta test was, honestly, it was the response was overwhelming. We saw just a huge variety of responses and feedback, and just people enjoying it, and also sharing, what they thought of it in a constructive way. So, Dakota-san,
Yeah. We were all very
about
constructive.
What your initial impressions were, seeing all the different reactions to the beta,
especially on my podcast. We
オ
were
ープン
very
ベータテスト
constructive.
の、ユーザーの反応への徳田さんの反応について教えてもらえますでしょうか。
はい、まず本当にたくさんの方にご参加いただき、ありがとうございました。クロスプレイ、のマッチングサーバーにもし問題があった場合に、修正期間を取るために、モンスターハンターワールドのオープンベータテストよりも1ヶ月早く、開催したんですけれども、おかげさまで大きなサーバートラブルもなくテストを終えることができました。
Yeah, thank you very much, first of all, to all the many players around the world who took part in the beta. It was a very useful
You're welcome.
experience
You're
for
welcome.
us. You may have realized that the timeline was even earlier on this beta than the one we had from Monster Hunter World back in the day. It was about a month earlier before launch. The reason we had this one earlier was because of the addition of crossplay to Monster Hunter Wilds. That new system
crossplay.
meant that we really wanted to make sure we had enough time to fix any issues that might have arisen with crossplay matchmaking on the servers. But fortunately, we were able to get through the open beta test without any significant hitches in that area.
In that area, yeah,
ま
that is
た
correct.
皆さんの、楽しかっただったりだとか、もっとこうだったらよかったなみたいな、声を糧にしてですね、チーム全体がモチベーションを上げて、制作や改善に取り組むことができました。
Of course, it wasn't just about technical confirmation. It was also great to just see everyone's feedback, hearing all the players say how fun it was to play the game. And of course, your wishes and requests for things that you weren't enjoying quite as much about it. It was all such valuable feedback, and it's been great motivation for us to just
Glad to see
finish
that
the
hit
full
stun
game and make it
increased.
even better. So thank
Glad
you
to
again for
see,
that.
especially for weapons
Yeah,
like
it really
Lance.
was a fantastic opportunity
getting
for
that
everyone,
hit
and
stun.
for us to get some great learnings and observations too. And obviously, we've mentioned the open beta and what you thought about that. What were your thoughts, Dakota-san, on the recently published previews and interviews we'd seen from press from around the globe?
はい、先日メディアのプレビューも公開されていると思うんですけど、徳田さんは確認されてますか？いかがでしたでしょうか？
はい、まず世界中からですね、初心者からもベテランさんまで、すごく幅広い層の、ライターさんが、大阪に来てくださって、OBT からの改善点はもちろんですけど、ゲーム作品としてそもそもどうなのかだったりだとか、部分についてですね、とても楽しんで、ポジティブなレビューをたくさんくださったので、まずとても嬉しかったです。
Yeah, that was a really great experience. We had journalists from all over the world come and join us in Osaka, and it was a real range of people in terms of Monster Hunter play experience. Some of them were veteran hunters like yourselves, some of them were more on the beginner side, and getting to see their positive preview impressions was really exciting for me, because not just in terms of getting the news out there about improvements that have been made since the open beta test in the version they played, but their take on the game as a whole. That was something that was really fun for me to see, especially because it was very positive.
もうこれだけできてるんだったらもう大阪から帰りたくないみたいなことを言うメディアの方もいらっしゃいました。興味ある方はぜひ記事とか動画とかもチェックしてみてください。
Some of them were having so much fun, and they said the game felt so finished already. They just didn't want to leave Osaka. They wanted to stay there and keep playing it for a long time. But unfortunately, we had to release them from the office. But yeah, if anyone hasn't checked out those preview impressions already, I'd encourage you to take a look, because they were really great to see.
はい、ではそれではここからはジョーとジョノから、説明があった通り、製品版で調整される内容と、OBT から変更される内容について、ユーザーの皆様にお知らせしたいと思います。
So yeah, as you guys, Joe and Jono, both mentioned earlier, today is a chance for me to talk directly to the community about some adjustments that me and the team are making to the game based on all the valuable feedback we got from you players
I
about the
can't wait to
open
hear
beta
about
test.
this. I want to hear if they change the weapons.
All right,
I wanna
well,
hear
let's
about
go ahead
weapon
and get
changes.
into it. I think we have a lot to cover today. So let's start with our first topic.
Yeah,
Our first
yeah, this
topic
is like
is performance. So
hour and a half long video,
during the
bro.
open beta test, which was actually running on an earlier version of the game that's different from the internal version that the team is working on, we actually mentioned that the final release will have improved performance over the open beta test. So Dakota-san, could you walk us through how the team is improving performance with the full version?
はい、最初に製品版
I
で
just want to
目
remind
標
people
にしてい
too,
る
like
パフォーマンス
Monster Hunter
に
World
ついて教
dropped.
えてもらえる
Monster
と
Hunter
思い
World
ま
did
す
not
ので
perform very
お
well.
願いし
Like
ます
Monster Hunter World on the
はい
PC
まず
was kind of a
一
shit
つ
show in the
見て
beginning.
いた
It
だく
took a
のが
little
一番
bit. You
わ
know,
か
they
りや
had
す
to
いと
patch
思
it
い
a
ます
little
の
bit
で
to get
ま
that
だ最終
performance,
バ
you
ージョ
know,
ンではないん
up
で
to
すけど
snuff.
も、プレイステーション5でフレームレート優先モードでのプレイ映像をお持ちしたの
It's easy to
で、ご覧ください。
Yeah, we've got some slides with some details coming up, but I think first of all, I really want you guys to just get your eyes on a gameplay video to understand where the performance is at. So I've prepared a video that's running on PlayStation 5 in prioritized performance mode. It's not the final version of the game, but it's a more up-to-date version than the one you would have played in the OBT. So let's take a look at that now.
Oh yeah, show me some gameplay, baby. Demetrius, greatsword action. Yeah, okay. What do we got? What do we got? Jesus, focus mode is so good.
はい、このように、OBT の時よりも
That was very
綺麗なグラフィックで
short. Very short gameplay.
60フレーム近くでプレイできる状態になっています。
Yeah, hopefully that gave you an impression of how much better the game is looking already since the OBT. It's running at almost the target of 60 frames per second, so it's looking great, I think.
はい、改めまして目標としているスペックですけれども、PS5 の解像度優先モードでは、
Oh, really? Look, guys, it'll run. It'll run.
FPS で安定してプレイできることをターゲットにしています。
So as per the slide we have here, just to talk you through the target numbers that we have. On the PlayStation 5 in the prioritized graphics mode, we're running a rendered output of 4K with a targeted frame rate of 30 frames a second.
フレームレート優先モードではレンダリング解像度は異なりますが、60fps で、遊べるようにターゲットしています。
And for prioritized frame rate, that brings the rendering resolution down as you can see, but then the target frame rate gets to 60 frames a second.
OBT では目標のフレームレートに出ていなかった上にですね、フレームレート優先モードでは描画の不具合がありまして、髪の毛とか、羽毛のような表示の時に、ジャギーのようなものが発生するようになってまして、ちょっと綺麗じゃない、状態になっておりました。先ほどご覧いただきましたように製品版の方ではフレームレート含めて改善していますので、ご安心ください。
So the target frame rate that we have here was not being achieved in the OBT build. To be honest, it was an earlier version that wasn't quite as optimized. And there were also some rendering issues with the graphics when using frame priority.
Oh,
mode,
yeah,
the
there were.
prioritized frame rate.
Oh, yes,
a lot
there
of players
were.
reported seeing jagged edges on elements such as hair and feathers, the more fine details. As you will have hopefully got an impression of in the video we just showed, this has been greatly improved in the full
I actually
version,
thought
and
the
the frame
hair
rate
in
is
the beta
also
looked
getting
really
close to that
effing
target of
good.
60 frames a second.
はい、あとプレイステーション5 Pro エンハンスド対応については、製品版発売時の Day1 パッチにて、対応を予定しています。プレイステーション5 Pro でのゲームプレイは、グラフィック表現がより強化を予定しておりまして、詳細については今後の情報をお待ちください。
Also, just one thing to confirm is that PlayStation 5 Pro enhanced support is incoming, and it'll be ready with the Day 1 patch on release day of the title next year. That's going to enhance the graphics for PlayStation 5 Pro users, so please stay tuned for more details on that as we get closer to launch.
Okay.
はい、Xbox シリーズ X と、シリ
Xbox
ーズ S につきましても、
Oh yeah, baby.
プレイステーション5版と同様な、パフォーマンス向上に取り組んでいます。
Xbox.
Moving on then to Xbox, you can see here that on the Xbox Series X and Series S, we're aiming at similar improvements over the OBT compared to what I just described for the PlayStation 5 as per the slide.
Yeah,
新版でもご利用の
This is
環境設定
boring
によっ
news to
て
me,
変
man.
動はありますけれど
I
も、
hope
パフォ
it
ーマンスの
runs.
向上
Like,
につい
I
て
know
同
she's
様に
gonna
取り組んでおりまして OBT と同じスペックの機材であっても着実に
I
フレ
hate to
ームレー
spoil
トな
everyone's
ど向
immersion,
上してい
but
ます。
we're not live streaming this. We missed live. We didn't know about the live stream. I just saw this like right now on YouTube, and I was like, shit, boy, I gotta make a video on this. Performance improvements, benchmark
知りたい
tool.
というのは非常によく分かっております。
benchmark tool.
現在そうし
Okay.
てしましたらまたお知らせいたします。
Yeah, I totally understand the PC players on Steam really want to know before launch if their rig is going to be giving them the performance that they want.
Correct.
While we are, as I said, working to improve the performance greatly before launch, we're considering as well releasing a benchmark tool for Steam players, and that'll let you more directly check how your PC hardware is going to run the game. So
I would strongly consider that.
That's something that's still in the works at the minute, and if that becomes finalized, again, we'll release further details on that in due course. So stay tuned.
For all of you out there who are not lucky enough to be like me, gaming on their wife's boyfriend's PC that's beefy, I hope they release this benchmark tool, man. Even for me, it'd be nice. It would be nice. It would be nice to have that ability. Okay, what else we got in here? Hit stop / sound effects. That's what we're here for, baby.
There's some really great updates on performance, but let's go ahead and transition to some of the gameplay specific adjustments to either weapon actions and the overall hunting experience.
Show me.
And I think both Jono and I know that one of the biggest topics and concerns from the community were changes to hit stop and the overall impact of weapons. And this was really something that we saw quite a bit of feedback on, looking for a little bit more punch to the different weapons.
Lance, looking at you.
Previews, we actually did confirm that there were some improvements made to this area. So Takuda-san, can you detail what these tweaks are?
はい、パフォーマンスに続けて武器の調整についてですけれども、
Man,
多くのユーザ
I
ー
love
から、
Takuda's eyebrows,
もう少し
man.
パンチが欲しい、手応えを
He's
感じたい
got
という
nice
フィードバ
expressive
ックが
eyebrows. He's got
寄
good
せられている
eyebrows.
と思うんですけど、これに対してチームの方で予定している調整などについて教えてもらえますでしょうか。
はい、オープンベータテストでは、いわゆるヒットストップや、サウンドエフェクトが過去作に比べて弱いというご意見いただいております。これについて OBT では一部対応が漏れていたものもあったんですけど、製品版では、多くの武器で特に大技とか決め技を中心に、攻撃の手応えをより感じていただけるような調整をしております。
Yeah, this is,
I'm getting ahead of myself here, but I'm reading this at the bottom. I'm reading this down here. Mitigation of friendly fire. Friendly fire had already been mitigated for most weapon types in the open beta test. Can confirm. The full version will also include further mitigation of friendly fire for upswinging hammer attacks. That makes me so sad. I haven't talked about this on the channel yet. A lot of other people have. I'm going to go ahead and let you know I'm in the camp that really enjoys having friendly fire in Monster Hunter, and this makes me want to cry. This, to me, I guess it's hard to talk about this without getting into the greater conversation of, like, kind of the old guard versus the new guard in Monster Hunter. There's, ever since World, a lot of, like, older, I mean, longer than that, but especially starting in World, a lot of the old mechanics has started to get either phased out or kind of revamped, touched up, able to move while healing, for example. And then, the in Rise being able to move while sharpening. They've been modifying or removing mechanics for a while now. And it's, on one hand, tells me to see some of these mechanics removed, and especially to remove specific mechanics like friendly fire, demonstrates like a grievous misunderstanding of the franchise and what makes Monster Hunter special to begin with. Because this is removing hunter agency. It's removing our power to influence the world of Monster Hunter as hunters. It's making us less hunters and more just gamers, I guess, is how I would put it. And, that's what one half of my brain says. The other half of my brain acknowledges that Capcom's not stupid, and the people developing this game are not stupid, and they have already mentioned and brought up several times that the reason they implemented in the very first Monster Hunter games friendly fire was to give the hunter agency in the world, basically. So they full on understand and know what makes Monster Hunter Monster Hunter. Like, they're making Monster Hunter. So they have to be looking at the numbers, and they have to have had to make a hard call that tells them they believe that the majority of players view friendly fire as a detriment and not as an advantage in the game. And I have to wonder how accurate that is, because it seems like, for other content creators at least, in the polls and stuff, it seems like people overall do enjoy friendly fire being in the game, but maybe it's wrapped up in Capcom's like idea of what a modern Monster Hunter franchise looks like. Maybe it's to try to increase widespread appeal to a greater audience. I don't know. But what I do know is it makes me very, very, very sad. It makes me want to cry.
What people refer to as hit stop, it's something that we were aware of with the OBT build. There were certain things we'd already taken care of, actually, and certain things that hadn't yet been done. So when it comes to making those weapons feel more weighty and impactful in terms of hit stop and sound effects, we are planning to make further adjustments in the full version of the game in that area.
一つの例として、調整後の体験の新ため切りの動画をお持ちしましたのでご覧ください。
I've got a video here that we can show in a second, which shows you the true charged slash of the greatsword, and that's how it looks after these adjustments have been made to make these big moves and finishers feel more meaty. So let's show the video, please, and see how that looks.
Yeah, show me some greatsword video. Oh, is this a training area? Oh, cool. I mean, watching it does nothing. You gotta get it in the hands, man. I gotta get it in the hands to really know. I mean, like, yeah, sure, it looks weighty, but like, it didn't look that bad to begin with. You gotta get it in the hands before you really know.
実は新ため切りダメージ量の方も、
the beta Sword and Shield looked really weighty and really good, but it didn't feel
ヒット
super
エフ
weighty,
ェクト
but
だ
it
った
didn't
り
feel
だと
super
かヒッ
bad.
トスト
You know, you gotta
ッ
get
プに
things
ついても
in the
もろもろ
hands
調整を
before
行
you
ってい
can
ます
really
し
tell what they feel
サウンドですね、音についても調
You
整
gotta
して
get
ます
the
の
game
で
in the hands.
トータルでヒット感は、向上しています。
So that move that we just saw, the true charge slash, has also actually had its damage output increased. But even for moves where I haven't changed the damage output, I've heard you guys on things like hit stop, on sound effects, how the moves feel to actually
I've heard
use.
about a Lance
So
rework
those
in
kind
the
of
making. I hope
adjustments
they
are
talk
being
about that
made,
in this
not
video.
just on the greatsword. I use it as an example here because it's kind of easy to understand, but across the board on all weapon types.
はい、ヒットストップに関してはですね、モンスターハンターワールドをリリースした当初には、海外のユーザーを中心に、ヒットストップが強すぎるとか、重すぎるみたいなご意見をすごくいただいたんですけれども、今回モンスターハンターワイルズのオープンベータですと逆に弱いというご意見もたくさんいただきまして、モンスターハンターの持ち味であるこの、重みのあるアクションという感覚が世界中の方に受け入れられ始めているんだなということも感じまして、感慨深くもありました。
It was really interesting, actually, for me to receive this feedback on the beta. I'm thinking back to Monster Hunter World, which I also worked on. And back then, there was a lot of player feedback, especially outside Japan, where players felt that the game was actually too weighty.
Yes.
That the animations were too slow. And, that's completely the opposite of what we heard this
But
time.
we got used to it. We got used to it in World, and it ended up being
everything
fucking
felt a
good.
bit too light and floaty and weaker. So I'm taking that as a positive, where I feel like in the years between Monster Hunter World coming out and Monster Hunter Wilds OBT, players around the world have gotten used to that meaty, weighty hit stop action that is kind of one of the hallmarks of Monster Hunter.
I would say that is correct.
Knowing that they've accepted that and they wanted it back based on the OBT is actually something that I think is really interesting, and also it's really nice for me to hear.
Oh, good. I'm glad you guys are willing to bring it
that's
back.
really,
at least.
really cool. You know, I'm looking forward to seeing those
you feel the
meaty
same
chops
way about-
and big bonks come
feel the same way
February.
about,
And
Friendly
obviously,
Fire.
you know, we've spoken about how weapon interactions with monsters have been adjusted, but we're also looking at friendly fire and how that works, right? I understand that this was actually something as well that the team were looking into and considering before the open beta test went live.
はい、フレンドリーファイアの機能について確かにオープンベータテスト
Yeah, tell me about the
配
friendly
信
fire.
前か
Tell
ら
me
も
about it.
検討されていたと聞いてるんですけ
It's a long
ど、こちらは OBT を受けてどのような調整を予定しているのでしょうか。
はい、ゲームズコーンや TGS の、私有ロムでは、ガラランスの流撃砲などによって、仲間が吹っ飛ばされる、いわゆるフレンドリーファイヤーがありましたけれども、OBT のタイミングでは多くの武器でそれらを緩和しました。
Yeah, this is something that, as you said, before even the OBT came out, we had our first playable globally at Gamescom earlier in the year. Then we had Tokyo Game Show. And the adjustments that we started to make for friendly fire were already present in those builds. So, for example, the Wyvern Fire of the gun lance is something that we'd already toned down the effect even before the OBT started.
OBT の時点でもハンマーの勝ち上げなど一部こうフレンドリーファイアが残ってしまったものもあったんですけど、それらも製品版の方では、修正予定となります。
That said, as a lot of players will have noticed in the OBT, there were some friendly fire things that we hadn't handled yet. So upswing attacks on the hammer in particular, I think were causing a lot of people to be thrown around the place. And that's something that we're looking to get into a better place and fix it up for the final game.
Like, come on, man. Getting launched with
サンブレイ
hammer
ク
is
の方
like
で実装されました、
one of my favorite
ダ
things
メ
in
ージリア
Monster
クショ
Hunter.
ン
Come
を
on.
硬化するこの干渉銃、といった装飾品も実装予定です。
And just to mention as well, something that wouldn't have applied during the OBT, but the shockproof jewel, which you might remember from recently Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak, is going to be in the full game, and that will further help you nullify those damage reactions.
That's another problem I have.
No.
That's another problem I have. We already have shockproof. We already have ways to like completely or almost completely nullify hunters. Like, why can they not just give us a deco that makes friendly fire not a thing? You know? Come on. Give me my friendly fire back. Come on.
調整後のハンマーの勝ち上げの動画も持ってきましたので、ご覧ください。
I've got another video with me today, so if we can please show that, then you should get an idea of how the hammer upswing looks after these adjustments have been made. So let's take a look.
Oh, interesting. No, that's so much worse. No, they can trip us now, but they can't, like, oh, come on. They can't throw us, they can't launch us, but they can still disrupt us.
The example is really great.
That
at
is
kind of
so
showing
dumb.
side by side just the changes that have been made there. So, I think, with friendly fire, this is one of those changes where, there's a lot of different players a lot of different types of players that it may impact. So, Takuda-san, can you talk a little bit more about the intention behind making this change?
For most
フレンド
weapons.
リーファイアーですとプレイヤーの意見も
Right, it doesn't
分かれ
impact all
る仕様だと思うんですけ
players, but it
ど
kind of does.
徳田さんの今回変更を入れた
It
意図
will.
に
It
ついて
will
もう少
eventually
し
impact almost all players.
詳しく教えてもらえますでしょうか。
はい、フレンドリーファイアの軽減は残念なに思っている方もいるトピックだと、こちらも認識しています。今回ですね、ガンランスの流撃砲の範囲を結構思い切って広げたんですけど、この範囲で、ぶっ飛ばしを残してしまうと、マルチプレイですごく大きな、支障になってしまいます。
Yeah, I know what you mean because friendly fire is one of those features I think some players enjoy, the bit of the chaos, and they might find it disappointing to hear that it's being reduced, but it's all part of my overall balancing sort of approach. So to take the Gunlance Wyvern fire as an
Why?
example,
Balance
the
is
range-
not... I'm not going to get on a rant, but I'm going to let you know. Balance is not necessarily fun. Balance is usually not fun. Games, I don't know why... I don't know why there's this thing in the game industry in the last, okay, I guess I do know why. I mostly blame esports. But look, there's this thing in the video game industry in the last 10 or 15 years, last 10 years, it's got developers fetishizing balance in favor of fun. That's stupid. That is stupid. The game should be fun. Competition in games is bred from fun. It is derived from the game being fun, and then people get competitive at it because they're invested in the game because it's so much fun to play and they spend a lot of time doing it. You can't you usually see this in esports, but you're starting to see it trickle into the video games industry at large, where developers keep trying to do it the other way around. And they keep trying to no, if we make this perfectly balanced game that is competitively focused, then competition will arise and people will come. And that's not how esports should work. That's not fun. It's not conducive to fun video games. I understand that their balance does need to be a thing, especially in a single player game or a player versus environment game. You need to have balance, especially in Monster Hunter, where you can have either one hunter taking on a monster or up to 4 times as many hunters taking on that exact same monster. I understand that balance is an important aspect of development, do not get me wrong, but removing player agency and taking away staple mechanics of the franchise that people love and adore in the name of making the game more balanced, aka less fun, is stupid. That is dumb. I'm sorry, that is dumb. Personal opinion.
of that attack has actually been greatly expanded with Monster Hunter Wilds, and that meant that just the sheer range at which friendly fire could occur was kind of becoming something of a hindrance to having an effective multiplayer hunt.
こういう行動はルールを理解しているプレイヤー同士なら
I should probably preface and say as well, like Monster Hunter World, many of the changes will likely make sense in the long run as you get to see the bigger picture at play with the game and with their plans for the game as it develops and expands and gets content added and then eventually also gets its expansion, right? Its G rank. I'm not saying I'm always going to hate the idea that they're removing friendly fire, but I am definitely 110% against it right now, and I think it's stupid. I'm still sticking to that.
楽しく感じていただける要素にもなり得るんですけれども、クロスプレイだったり、球団集合によって、幅広いユーザーの方がマルチプレイする機会というのがすごく増えている中で、初心者のユーザーの方がルールがわからないままぶっ飛ばしてしまったりだとか、逆にそういう要素があることによってマルチプレイを避けてしまうようなことを、避けたいと考えて、今回、こうした実装をしております。
I think that kind of scrappy, chaotic feel that you get from friendly fire is something that players who understand it and they know how to avoid it or when it's going to happen, those people can have an understanding with each other and enjoy that. But we've now got crossplay and we've got a wider range than ever of experience levels of hunters joining the game. And I wanted to avoid a scenario where this level of, extra range attacks causing friendly fire would mean that maybe less experienced players would end up knocking everyone around beyond the point where it's still fun. Or they might get knocked around and not understand why it's happening and not find that enjoyable, and then they'd end up avoiding going online and playing multiplayer with other players. So it's really part of my intention to make sure that everyone can enjoy multiplayer together, and that meant making the decision on how to adjust friendly fire.
Yeah, see. Okay, so I appreciate they're trying to paint it as like choosing the lesser of two evils kind of thing, or like a necessary evil. It's like a necessary evil, and it is a necessary evil. But the part that I don't like is it's a necessary evil to try and attack the widest audience possible. But I understand because this game has got to be so impossibly expensive to produce because it's so well crafted and so high fidelity and yada 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 now. So like I get that they need to recoup every single dollar they can and ship this to as many people as possible, which means the difficulty cannot be obstructive for new players, which is kind of one of the staples of Monster Hunter, again, that they've been doing away with. They did away with like a lot of the setup and the crafting and all that stuff in World, right? Like you in World, some people may not realize this, but like in World, you just get right into it. You get right into that. You get right into it. You just start fighting the monsters. You get to hunt great joggers like right off the bat. You pick your weapon and you go start hunting monsters. Not so in previous entries. Like in the past, there was a whole bunch of basically fetch quests and other crap that you had to do for up to 20 hours. For me, when I played Try, it was like 20 hours of fetch quests before you get to fight like a big Jaggy. It's simultaneously extremely frustrating and part of the experience. It's part of the identity of Monster Hunter. So I understand why this is a necessary evil. I do. But that doesn't make me any less happy about it, okay? Is having that scrappy multiplayer feel where friendly fire is an option, is that damaging to new players when they try to play multiplayer for the first time? Yes, it can be. The answer is it can be. But I think they're ignoring that for as many people as may, because they're assuming that everybody who will come in contact with friendly fire, or not everybody, but a sizable enough chunk of people that come into contact with friendly fire in their first experiences in multiplayer will be so turned off by their experience with friendly fire that they will not play multiplayer hunts again. That is essentially the argument they're making. And to that I say, nay. Where is the argument for other players who will find that humorous and fun and unique and interesting and Monster Hunter, for lack of a better phrase? The more I think about it, the more I talk about it, the more I realize I'm grateful that I'm not in their position where I have to make these extremely difficult yet necessary decisions. But all the same, this one makes me unhappy.
I think that kind of scrappy, chaotic feel that you get from friendly fire is something that players who understand it and they know how to avoid it or when it's going to happen, those people can have an understanding with each other and enjoy that. But we've now got crossplay and we've got a wider range than ever of experience levels of hunters joining the game. And I wanted to avoid a scenario where this level of, extra range attacks causing friendly fire would mean that maybe less experienced players would end up knocking everyone around beyond the point where it's still fun, or they might get knocked around and not understand why it's happening and not find that enjoyable, and then they'd end up avoiding going online and playing multiplayer with other players. So it's really part of my intention to make sure that everyone can enjoy multiplayer together, and that meant making the decision on how to adjust friendly fire.
So just a craft a
that
deco
makes sense. I mean,
removes
it's
the
making
friendly
it more
fire.
approachable for new players and less frustrating for experienced players who
that's
are
probably too
playing
hard for new
alongside
players.
these new players joining the community. And kind of moving on from that as well, something that actually Joe and I encountered ourselves and what we saw within the community and content creators was that during the open beta test, they felt that monsters move locations way more often than they expected. Was this intentional?
Yeah, that was insane.
ジョノとジョーもご自身で遊んだ時に気づいた仕様なんですけれども、モンスターが割と頻繁にエリア移動する仕様になってたと思うんですけど、コミュニティのフィードバックもたくさんある仕様だったと思いますので、こちらについてはどれだけ意図的なものだったでしょうか。
はい、OBT ではですね、そのプログラム的な不具合とですね、調整不足の両方が重なりまして、モンスターのエリア移動が、頻繁に発生していました。
Yeah, the actual truth is that there was a bit of a bug or glitch in the open beta test build, which meant that
Shocker.
monsters were moving between areas more frequently than we intended. So the behavior you guys noticed in the open beta test build isn't something that was finally fully adjusted to where we wanted it to be.
Yeah, it was
製
glitched.
品版では、
Bit
モン
of a
スター
bug.
ハンターワールドに近いような移動頻度になるように調整を入れています。
So yeah, we've worked on that since the open beta test build was created, and the final version should be more close in feeling to Monster Hunter World in terms of how often you feel the monsters are moving around.
Got it. Yeah. So even though that the amount of frequency that a monster might move locations has been toned down a little bit, sometimes a monster moving locations significantly is kind of like a way of expressing its personality. So are there still some situations where a monster might move significantly?
それでも製品版で
Yeah,
は
confirm
エリア
that. Yeah, you're not
間
just
の
like
移
making
動
it
を
flat
す
across
る
the board.
場合
Yeah.
があると理解していいん
Don't
です
worry,
ね。
guys. We've kept the integrity
も
of
ちろん
Monster Hunter, we promise.
モンスターがフィールドの中でどんどんこう移動していって、それを追い詰めていってハンティングするというのはモンスターハンターの、醍醐味の一つでもありますので、モンスターは移動していきます。
Yeah, that's right. It's one of the sort of key features of Monster Hunter is that you're chasing these monsters around these vast environments. So it's not like they're never going to move anywhere and you're just going to be stuck in one place to hunt them. You're still going to have that feeling of the chase where they move between different parts of the field as the hunt progresses.
またですね、特に生態系の上位に属するようなモンスター、その強いモンスターはですね、ベースキャンプから離れた場所、フィールドの奥深くに巣を構えていることが多くあります。今回はフィールドが、広大になっているということもありまして、いろんな緩和処理は入れてるんですけれども、それでも瀕死移動などの際に、大きく移動するということがあります。
Also, the maps are much bigger in this game than any previous Monster Hunter, and that means there's more turf to cover. And when it comes to things like the monsters who are at the top of the food chain in a particular map, their nests or their home turf within the map can be pretty deep into the area, and it can be some distance to cover. So if you get them to a weakened state and they're doing the thing where they limp back to their nest to try and recover, that's still going to be an occasion where you're going to have some ground to cover in order to chase them and find them again.
そうした場合はですね、その狩りたいモンスターの生息域だったり移動ルートに合わせた場所に簡易キャンプを立てて、ファストトラベルなどを使って先回りするような、使い方というのもすごく有効になります。
I would recommend when that happens in the full game that you can actually use the pop-up camp feature to its fullest. So if you're aware of where a particular monster's nest is going to be in the map, and if it's quite a distance from other areas, you can go ahead and sort of do a recce and scout it out and put a pop-up camp there in advance, so that when that
recce?
monster starts to
Never heard of that.
get weakened and try to return to its nest, you can fast travel to the pop-up camp and get there quickly.
So a little bit of planning, a little bit of prep, and it will pay off in the hunt, which is always handy. And, moving on, we've already covered a lot of juicy changes. We've been getting stuck straight in. So let's kind of move over to adjustments to something that's really important and helps really define a hunter's identity in game, and that we're all very passionate about: our weapons.
Weapon
many
updates. Let's
people
go.
are really interested in this.
I'm very interested.
In our
Let's
recent
go.
previews, the team showed off some changes to the insect glaive. But that's not the only weapon. Multiple
bounce back,
weapons
I
have
heard.
received adjustments, but a few in particular, like the aforementioned insect glaive, have received the most attention, right?
武器の調整についてですけれども、プレビューのインタビュー
Tell
な
me
ど
about the
で
Lance rework.
徳田さんは
Tell me about
特に
it.
総中
I wanna hear about the
の
Lance rework.
かなり OBT に比べて大きく調整が入っているというふうにコメントをいただいていると思うんですけど、こちらについてもう少し詳細に教えてもらえますでしょうか。
はい、特に総中根、ランス、スラッシュアックス、
ランス
片手剣
you heard it! Let's
製品版
go!
とかなり違いを感じられるような、武器種になっています。それらを中心に調整内容をご紹介できればと思います。
Yeah, the insect glaive is one of several weapons, such as the lance, the switch axe, and the sword and shield, which I think players will, if
Sword
you
and
play the
shield
OBT
too?
version and then you play the full game, you're going to notice maybe the biggest differences and feel like we've made the most adjustments to those weapons in particular,
play sword and
although we
shield and
have made
lance, so-
adjustments to all the weapons. So I'd like to take the chance to go through a few of those
I
details
also
with
play a
you.
little switch axe, not that
はい
much、
総中根についてはまずは動画を見ていただければと思います。
So if we can run the video we've prepared of the insect glaive, let's take a look at that first.
Just instantly showing it off, just letting them know. You gotta let them know. Yeah, they got the bounce back, baby. People are fucking stoked. People didn't even give this weapon a chance. They saw that they removed like bounce, and they were like, no. We ain't even giving the new version of this weapon a chance. You gotta give us bounce back. You gotta give us the good shit. You gotta give us the good shit back.
はい、このようにまず武闘跳躍が、追加されております。
That's right, vaulting dance is back.
総中根についてはゲームズコンや TGS の私有の段階で、特にこの総中根使いの方々から、アイデンティティとも言えるような、武闘跳躍を、ないことについてですね、非常に残念がる声というのをたくさんいただいてましたので、OBT では間に合わなかったんですけども、製品版の方では、武闘跳躍
Damn,
を追
is
加
that
してお
how
ります。
extracts work?
So
They get to
this is
negate
something I
wind
was
pressure and
actually
shit?
aware
I had
of
no idea. I've
even
never played
before
Insect
the,
Glaive.
Feedback from the open beta test back at our Gamescom and Tokyo Game Show exhibitions of
That's crazy.
gameplay. We had our, insect glaive users, our bug rod mains, complaining that
Bug rod.
the vaulting dance was missing, and it's one of the iconic moves of that particular weapon. So yeah, I'm happy to confirm that vaulting dance makes its return in the full version of Monster Hunter Wilds.
またですね、吸収切りの出始めのところに、相殺効果がついていたりだとか、エキスを取った時の、効果などが OBT から、追加で対応を行っていまして、これらによって、立ち回りの幅がすごく広がっています。
As you can see on the slide, we've got a few other adjustments being made. One of them is that the descending slash now has an offset effect added at the beginning of that move. And we also have additional effects happening with the different extracts that you have during the course of the action. So those are going to improve the feel of the insect glaive too.
はい。ですその吸収切りのための部分の、操作っていうのが、押しづらいというご意見も、すごく多くいただいておりました。
One thing I wanted to cover additionally was that some players said that the controls for charging up the descending thrust were a little bit too difficult, or they felt tricky to operate in the heat of the hunt.
僕自身も押しづらいなと感じる部分もありましたので、何かできないか検討や相談っていうのを進めていたんですけれども、慣れてくるとですね、この貯めることによる遊びの広がりっていうのも確かにあるなというふうにも感じていることから、あとそれを回収するコストとももろもろ天秤にかけていった結果、今回はその試操作に関しては残すことに、しました。
I took that feedback on board, and I tried it out in the game myself. And I did somewhat agree that it could be tricky to pull that off right in the middle of things, but we always have to weigh up when we're going to make these kind of modifications to a weapon, what the implications are for its playstyle as a whole. We have to balance the idea of changing that with, how it might play the way it is. So after many discussions with the team, I actually decided to keep this one the way it is. I think that it is one of the trickier things to pull off, but it's sort of a bit of a rewarding bit of depth to the gameplay of the Insect Glaive. If you can get used to that and learn when to use the charge, it can really deepen your play style. So that's something that we're not adjusting this time, although we did hear your voices on that.
ですね、メディアプレビューツアーに、
I mean, you
来ら
gotta know
れ
when to
た
tell them no.
操縦根使いのライターの方はですね、
situation?
触っていただいて、
I don't know, I'm not
最高の
insect
操縦
glaive,
根になってる
man.
じゃないかってすごく喜んで、くれましたので、ぜひ製品版の方、お待ちいただければと思います。
Yeah, there was actually one journalist who was in Osaka for our preview last month, and they're an Insect Glaive main user, and they said that this is the best Insect Glaive ever in Monster Hunter history. So you can take that on board and look forward to the full version of the weapon in the final version of the game.
Yeah, amazing. It's so great seeing Vaulting Dance back. I know that has been very, very highly requested from the community. And I think there's a lot of people out there, including myself and members of the community, who doubted that it was something that could even be added back into the game. So it's so great to see it back and to see it in action. So moving off from the Insect Glaive, I know there's other weapons we want to touch on. We mentioned in the previews that the Lance would be seeing some significant changes.
Yeah,
can you
lay
take
it
us through
on
those?
me, baby. Lay it on me.
先にプレビューの段階で
This is why I'm here for. This is literally the entire reason I'm watching this hour and a half long video is because I want to know about the
っていう
Lance.
ふうに徳田さんがコメントしてたと思うんですけど、その詳細について教えてもらえますでしょうか。
はい。ランスは、多様なガードと、細やかな移動行動を駆使していて、過去シリーズよりもモンスターに張り付いて
Okay, what do we got here? Charge counter now allows guarding while charging and can be chained into from any other move. Okay. Power guard will now charge to higher levels more quickly when used to successfully defend against more powerful monster attacks. Okay. Perfect guard and power guard can now be chained into a new move. Nani? What is that? What? Perfect guard and power guard. What's the new move? Or just like any move? Like just like into a new move, or like what are the implications?
いける選択肢を増やしたかったんですけれども、逆にそのモンスターの行動を見て待つ選択肢っていうのがなくなった結果、かえって行動の選択肢が狭まって、同じ行動を繰り返してしまうような、ちょっと単調なプレーにつながってしまう部分っていうのがありました。
Yeah, the Lance was something where the effects of the adjustments we made were somewhat on the unintentional side. So
Yeah, bro.
I wanted to add a variety of different options for guarding and more fine footwork movement options. And the idea was to increase the tool set of things the players had available when they're using the Lance.
Thank you.
But I think that the unintentional effect of that was that players weren't able to do the classic Lance move of being able to wait it out and see what the monster is going to do next and then respond to that in kind. And I think that we ultimately ended up, unfortunately, narrowing the options available, and some players even went so far as to say that the Lance action felt monotonous because ultimately with the tools available, they still ended up repeating the same actions over and over again.
And that is crazy, because
大
Lance
き
has
な
always
変
been
更
kind
点
of
と
the
しましては、
monotonous
過
weapon.
去作のカウンター好きを、ガード中のためカウンターとして、復活させました。
So in response to that, one thing that I've done is take the counter thrust move, which was a move that was available in past games with the Lance. I sort of resurrected that in a new form as what we're now calling the charge counter. And that's something that you can use while guarding as well.
これによってカウンターで待つ、選択肢を作りつつ、さらに大きなモンスターの攻撃に対しては、ガードからパワーガードの方に派生していって、受けた攻撃によってため段階が変わる、新アクションっていうのも、足していってますので、そうしたものも含めた反撃の選択肢というのを取れるように、しています。
So the addition of this move, as well as the other adjustments that we've made, some of which you can see here, which includes a new move that can be chained into from both Perfect Guard and Power Guard, means I think Lance players will appreciate the ability to read the monster's movements, and you can choose your counter-attack style, and you can even do a Power Guard that will now charge even more quickly or to higher levels if you successfully defend against more powerful monster attacks. So
Good.
that sort of
I missed that from
wait, read, and
Sunbreak.
counter style of the Lance, I think is going to be getting much better than you might have experienced in the open beta.
その他混乱だったり暴発が起こりやすいような発生をなくしたりだとか、連携中に発生するガードダッシュのキャンセルのタイミングを早くするなど、過去作でできたことっていうのは、なるべくフォローしながらやれることの幅っていうのを広げる調整をしています。僕はもちろんランス界の藤岡さんも、結構、じっくり触っていまして、かなり感触良くなってきています。
There's also another variety of adjustments that we've made to the lance in conjunction with Mr. Fujioka, the executive director and art director, who, as you guys know, is a lance main, so he takes the lance very seriously. And I worked together with him on these. So I wanted to expand the range of what you can do based on past titles. That has included actually removing some moves that you tended to chain into only on accident, and it would kind of cause confusion and mess up your combos. So I've sort of refined the moveset a little bit in those ways, while at the same time speeding up the cancellation timing of guard dashes that are chained into during combos. So I think that these changes, if you trust me and Mr. Fujioka, are going to make the lads feel better than ever.
はい、動画の方もお持ちしたので、ご覧ください。
I hope so. I hope so.
I've got a video for this too. Then you can see what I'm talking about.
Give it to me. Okay. Oh, shit. Okay.
And
Interesting.
there we have it. Lance getting straight to the point, as always. So hopefully our Lance mains out there, that has put a smile on your face. And for those of you that have never tried the weapon before, hopefully that's, sparked a bit of interest for you to go check it out come February.
I do think we're going to have more Lance players in this
Lance,
Monster Hunter than another Monster Hunter
Let's talk about the Switch Axe, which apparently has been made much stronger than it was in the open beta test. Takuda-san, can you tell us a bit more about that, please?
次にランツから移してスラッシュアクスも OBT の時から大きく変わってると聞いてるんですけど、詳細お願いします。
はい、スラッシュアクスに関しては、そのオノモードでゲージを貯めて剣モードで放出していくような基本的なサイクル自体は、変えていませんが、オノモードでのちょっとためにくさみたいなものは、多少緩和しつつ、剣モードでの攻撃を、ゲージ消費に見合ったような威力とか手応えに調整を行っています。
Yeah, so with the Switch Axe.
So, sorry, I didn't really stop and talk about Lance much. It seems like they've made it so that you can chain into Power Guard easier, and Power Guard is better when you block bigger attacks, which is good. But based on the video, it seems like they just made canceling into Power Guard and canceling into guarding in general just way easier and more viable, which I like. There's still some of the new moves, some of the that kind of shield charge still looks a little strange to me with Lance. I'm still kind of not entirely sure on how that's going to work in the long term, how it's going to fit into the overall kit. Switch Axe I did not play in the beta, but I did hear it was very underpowered. Interesting that the points here are really vague and just talking about making the weapon feel more satisfying, or moves just being improved. Except for that third point, knockback now negated when using full release slash. I mean, that's pretty sweet. That's pretty sweet.
Of course, the basic loop of charging up the axe mode and then releasing in the sword mode is the same. That's kind of what people expect from the weapon, but I understand from feedback that some players thought it was too difficult to get the axe mode charged up, and that was something that I wanted to alleviate, so that difficulty has been adjusted. At the same time, the sword mode has been adjusted to be this feeling more powerful and more responsive to match that gauge consumption.
特にフルリリーススラッシュは手応えも威力も最終発生型に見合った性能に向上させています。
Maybe a little more hits.
One move in particular that should be feeling a lot better now is the full release slash. It's been improved both in terms of its power output and its feeling, and it just feels like a much more appropriate finisher move in terms of how great it feels to pull off.
またカウンター切りの使い勝手を上げたりだとか、集中弱点攻撃の後付けを短くするなど、使いづらかったコードを少しずつ調整していって、全体的な遊びやすさというのを向上させています。
There were also some moves that the feedback from the player base was that they were a little bit too difficult to use. So using the counter rising slash in sword mode something that's been made more usable. And I've also looked to shorten the animation lock period after using a focus strike with this weapon. So hopefully those things make it feel more usable.
That's cool.
はい、こちらも動画をご覧ください。
I've got a video for this one too, so let's take a look.
Damn. What? You really opened the video up with him just getting bodied?
たりだとか
So let's take a look.
Damn, just getting whacked. That's so funny. Whoa. He's got super armor. What the fuck is that? A sword axe gauge. What is that? That looks horrible.
Yeah, the changes to
Yikes,
Switch Axe
man, the
are looking
UI
really
looks
great. As
so
somebody
bad
who
this time
really
around.
likes
Sorry.
the new moveset in Monster Hunter
Sorry, I
Wilds,
feel that way.
these tweaks just take it to the next level. So I'm really excited about that, and maybe I'll switch to the Switch Axe. Sorry. Well, next up we've got Sword and Shield. Jono, I know this is very near and dear to your heart.
Yeah, I didn't
as
expect
your
this.
main,
I did not
Tokuda-san,
expect
Can you take us
this.
through all of the tweaks
Show
here?
me.
はい、次にご存知のようにジョノがメインに使っている武器でもある片手剣ですけど、こちらの調整についてはいかがでしょうか。
はい、まずですね、過去作とちょっとボタンは違うんですけれども、ガード中で
that's
切り上げ
so
ですね、
much.
のアクションを復活させました
Rising。Slash can now be used while guarding. Parameter improvements to various attacks, especially normal attacks, and Perfect Rush. I'm guessing that's just kind of a damage buff, or maybe hit stop. Hopefully hit stop. Improved the responsiveness of the mobile chop and side slash combo, as well as guard slash and perfect rush, the responsiveness, making the responsiveness better. That's good, because the weapon was a little bit. That was the one where I cited, you know, how it looks and how it feels isn't necessarily in sync. Improved evasion effectiveness of backstep and sliding swipe. Oh, shit! Did we get more iframes on back hop? Did we get more iframes on back hop? That would be fucking insane. That would be insane. I mean, it was tight. It was tight, but I mean, it was tight in World, man. The rise back hop is like fucking insane, dude. I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked if they gave us more iframes. Okay.
Yeah, so for the Sword and Shield, one thing we heard your voice very clearly on was that the loss of the ability to use Rising Slash while guarding was being majorly felt. So that's back, and you can now perform
was?
that move while guarding again.
I don't know about that,
ま
boys.
た通常攻撃だったり、ジャストラッシュといった、各種攻撃の威力を、上げていったりだとか、各種行動のレスポンスの方も、向上させて、さらにバックステップと滑り込み切りの回避性能を強化するなど、全体的なこの
I do
威力
expect
と、
to also see
レ
more
スポン
sword
ス
and
手
shield
触り
players
を
in
向上
wilds
を、
because
させ
of
てい
the
ます。
rain and sunbreak.
And there's also various improvements, as you can see on the next couple of points here, being made to the weapons sort of feel and also attack output. So normal attacks and the perfect rush have had their parameters improved. The responsiveness of your sort of more bread and butter mobile combos like the chop and side slash combo have been improved, and same goes for guard slash and perfect rush. And then finally the backstep and the sliding swipe have had their effectiveness when it comes to evasion improved as well. So lots of changes all across the board for
Man,
Sword and
being
Shield.
vague. Why are you being vague with me? Tell me what you actually
こ
did.
ちらも動画をご覧くだ
What do
さ
you
い。
mean the parameters have been
You
improved?
guessed it, another video for this weapon, so let's run it and
The
see how it looks.
effectiveness has been improved. Like, what does that even mean? Oh yeah, show me the good stuff. Like, I mean, being able to rising chop out of guard is good. Hit him with the shield. Come on. Hit him with the shield. I want to see him hit him. Come on. The sword felt okay. Yeah, it was the shield that didn't feel really great. I want to see you use the shield.
Oh,
I'm not
my
just saying that
goodness.
because it wasn't OP.
To my
like it was in
fellow
Sunbreak.
Sword and Shield enjoyers, we are truly eating good in Wilds.
It looks
Those
aight.
changes
It
look
looks good.
delicious. What can I say? And for those that haven't tried Sword and Shield yet, here's a really good excuse to give it a go. But enough of
You want a
me
good excuse?
gushing about the Sword and Shield,
Sword and
because I
Shield
could
is
do that
sweaty.
for the next hour. You know, there are other weapons too that have
Sword and
had
Shield is the sweaty
some
man's
adjustments.
weapon.
Maybe not as
It's the sweaty
extensive
hunter's
as the
weapon.
4 we've shown so far, but many have received tweaks. So, Tokuda-san, could you please take us through these at a broader level?
こちらの4つの武器ほど、大規模な変更ではないかもしれないんですけれども、全体的な武器の調整について教えてもらえますでしょうか。
はい、先ほどの4つの武器も含めてになるんですが、まずその
Okay, we got bow. Rebalancing the bow with increased attack power and responsiveness of moves such as normal attacks and arc shots, while toning down the power of tracer shots. Okay. When targeting a monster with focus strike, multiple wounds are now locked onto one by one with a brief delay in between rather than all at once. I don't even play bow. What else we got? General wide-ranging adjustments to skills and elemental values to balance for full game content, including endgame. So I wonder if that implies we might get to see elemental weapons being a little bit more important than they have been in previous games. We've been seeing a lot of games balanced for raw in the last 4 installments, counting expansions. It'd be cool. I'm just saying it'd be cool. Is it more annoying to have to build elemental? Yes, it is. Man, but I play Sword and Shield, man. That's what I want. I play Sword and Shield, man. We can bring 2 weapons on hunts now. I want to be able to bring 2 Sword and Shields, man. I want to be able to bring my Fire Sword and Shield and my Ice Sword and Shield. Or my Paralysis Sword and Shield and my Sleepy Sword and Shield. I'm ready, man. I'm ready for an elemental monster hunter rather than a raw focused one again. You know what I'm saying?
属性値だったりとか、スキルの効果も踏まえたエンドコンテナを見越した数値調整というのを、全部機種、広く、行っています。その過程で、意図したバランスになっていないものだったりとか、意図しない武器格差みたいなものが、生まれていた部分については調整を予定しています。
Yeah, as you said, all the weapons are receiving general wide-ranging adjustments to everything from their skills, their elemental values. I don't want there to be unintentional weapon tiering happening. I want to balance the weapon lineup so that everything has a valid place and everything is a viable choice.
I want them to be structured weapon tiering.
Playing the full game when it comes out, but
I want to plan which weapon gets to be the
completing
bottom.
the game and then moving on to the end game content. I know that these balance adjustments need to stand up for many hours of gameplay from you guys, and that's the intention with this overall balancing approach I have.
It's not how I would do it, but that's
基
fair.
本的には、各武器種が持つコンセプトとか触り心地が実現できているかっていうのを重要視した調整を行っていまして、強いものを下げるというよりはどちらかというと低いものを上げていきながら、武器種間の格差もできるだけなくしていくような、方向性で、調整しています。
And my general concept is that I want each weapon to feel true to its own unique concept, because each of them has a place in the lineup of 14 weapons. In order to do that, I don't want to lower the high values to make everything meet in the middle. I actually want to raise up the lower values to make the weapons that were feeling less powerful feel more viable and going toe-to-toe with the other weapons in the lineup. So that's kind of my approach.
はい、その、主だった例として弓を挙げますけれども、弓はシルベの矢と、刺してそこに対して矢が飛んでいく、機能なんですけど、それと集中弱点攻撃の方にダメージのソースが、かなり偏っていたんですけれども、その部分も、通常攻撃だったりだとか局射のようなものの威力を上げつつ、さらにそれらの行動のつながりだったりレスポンスとかを向上させて、その他の行動でもしっかりダメージを取れるような、調整を行っています。
As on the slide here, the bow is a good example of this kind of general adjustment. I think that in the version that you guys will have played in the beta, the damage output was getting pretty biased towards using the tracer shots combined with the focus strike attacks. And this is something that I wanted to adjust. So again, as I said, rather than bringing those down, what I've done is bring up the normal shots and the arc shot power, make those attacks more viable, and at the same time, general responsiveness has been improved across the board for the bow, including transitions and chaining between different attacks. So that makes it feel like a more cohesive, true to the bow concept type weapon.
また集中弱点攻撃で、複数の傷だったりシルベの矢をまとめてロックオンして破壊することができたんですけども、傷については一つ一つロックオンする形に変更を行っています。
One more thing to mention is that as of the beta, the focus strike targeting capability was locking onto multiple wounds more or less simultaneously at the same time. And I've rebalanced this now so that whenever you try to lock on to multiple wounds, they'll lock on one at a time with a brief delay in between each one. So that's another balance adjustment that's been made here.
Oh, that's
はい、
good.
弓についても動画を用意しましたので、ご覧ください。
And you can see that and more in this video. Let's run it.
Yeah, show me more. Man, yeah, come on. Fucking Jonah, you want to talk about eating good, man. Bow players eating good. They're always eating good, these guys. Well, it does look a lot better now that it doesn't target
こ
all of
の
the
ように
weak
です
points
ね、
at
単
once.
なる
That
下
was
方修
insane.
正にならないように、武器の魅力だったり、ユーザーの選択肢の幅が広がるようにことを意識しながら、すべての武器の調整を行っています。
Yeah, hopefully when you watch that, you get a sense of what I meant, which was I don't want to just bring the powerful aspects of weapons or the more powerful weapons down to the same level. I want to make adjustments to each weapon to make every single weapon feel like a viable choice in the lineup of weapons in Monster Hunter, and the players have lots to choose from and everything has its place.
Yeah, I really love that philosophy behind all the balancing changes and the improvements. And I know one weapon that I think we'd be remiss if we didn't bring up, and a lot of people are really passionate about, is the hunting horn.
Yeah, my new main.
The changes that the hunting horn is receiving.
My new main weapon,
フィルオー
hunting
ブは
horn.
特に多くのユーザーからフィードバックがあった武器だと思うんですけど、こちらの最終的な仕様変更などはいかがでしょうか？
そうですね、シュルーブへの基本的な、メカニクスというか、そういうものについては、ユーザーさんも僕も含めて、結構気に入って、います。なんですけれども、サブ武器としての性能というのがちょっと、強すぎる面がありましたので、そのあたりは手を加えようと思っています。
Hunting Horn is a weapon that I myself really enjoy playing, and I think we've heard from lots of players that they find it really fun. It's a very viable main weapon.
I do expect to see more hunting horn
actually,
plays this time
the
around as well.
adjustments that I want to make for Monster Hunter Wilds based on the beta were about how it felt a bit too strong as a sub weapon.
Oh, wow.
OBT ではですね、
Wow,
攻撃
they're gonna be
力アップ
nerfing the
小の戦
hunting
率
horn.
効果
Come
までし
on,
かなか
bro.
ったので、そこまで問題にならなかったんですけれども、製品版の方では攻撃力アップ大の戦率効果があったりだとか、あとそれらの効果の時間を長くするスキルなどもありましたので、サブ武器としてかなりちょっと強い面が、ありました。
It wasn't too bad in the OBT because being a limited slice of the gameplay, the melodies that were available for the Hunting Horn only actually went up to Attack Up S. But when you take that into the full game and you're going all the way up to Attack Up L,
Or XL.
it just meant that the melody effects were too overpowered and it just became too much of an obvious meta choice to have the Hunting Horn as a backup weapon because of how powerful the parameters were whenever you were buffing not just yourself but your whole party.
でですね、
Reneging on that.
自分強化の戦率効果のパラメーターというのを速度のアップも含めて底上げしつつ、他の、プレイヤーへの戦率効果のパラ
Damn,
メーター
okay, so I'm going to pause it. There's been community concern this entire time about isn't the hunting horn going to create kind of a bit of a problem in terms of like the meta, in terms of having two weapons, aka why would you ever have two weapons or like any other two weapons besides your main weapon plus hunting horn? Because the buffs that hunting horn can give outweigh whatever utility or usefulness you could really get from any of the other weapons, you know, because you could just use the hunting horn to buff the damage, etc. on your first weapon. Isn't that just going to be the meta? And this whole time they've been kind of the position of like, nah, we're balancing really carefully to make sure that doesn't happen. And this is them saying, you know what, I don't think we balanced it carefully enough. We're going to have to pull it back some more. And the reason I think that's important is because I wonder how much they're going to have to pull it back. And I wonder if being able to have two weapons at all times and their focus on balance, I wonder if that is going to create a situation where the identity of Hunting Horn changes a little bit because it has to, as another necessary evil, to compensate for the new mechanics we've been given. It's possible. We'll see. We may see the Hunting Horn become more of a real support weapon, doing less of its own damage. We may see the opposite. We may see it become more of a solo weapon, and we see less powerful songs. I don't know. I have no idea what they have in store. I have no idea what they're planning. I don't know if they're just bringing numbers down. Who's to say?
ーターだったりだとか、狩猟笛から他の武器種に変更したときに、その、効果時間延長のスキルの効果がなくなるなどの調整を行っていって、サポート武器としての価値は残しつつもバランスを整えるような形にしています。
So yeah, with a view to rebalancing that, what I've actually done is the melody effects when you strengthen yourself, when you buff yourself, have actually been increased and been made more powerful. But conversely, the effect on others has been decreased to rebalance its focus. The other thing that has changed, increased,
say it to me again.
Been made more powerful. The melody effects when you strengthen yourself, when you buff yourself, have actually been increased and been made more powerful. But conversely, the effect on others has been decreased to rebalance its focus. The other thing that has changed is that...
Okay, so the melodies affect yourself more than they affect others now. Interesting.
That when you change back from the hunting horn to the other weapon that you have with you, that's the amount of time that the melody effect was being applied and for an extended amount of time. That skill has been adjusted so that when you change back to your other weapon, it's not going to hang around for as long whenever you've got the buff applied to other players. So I think that those balances still make it a valuable choice as a support weapon, but it just makes it less OP, to use the community phrase.
Yeah, hopefully that's music to the ears of our duders out there, you know, putting respect on the weapon for those that main it and are proud of the...
Is that going to be how that works? It could work, because it'll make it so you don't just need like one person bringing a hunting horn, but then do you have the situation where everybody just brings a hunting horn? I'm not convinced that we've solved the problem yet. I'm not convinced there was a problem in the first place, really. There probably was, though. Let's be honest. Hunting horn was insane in the beta. It was insane.
The tunes they bring to the hunt. And kind of moving on from that a little bit and moving away from weapons. Well, actually, I say that. We're moving further into weapons here. We've got some juicy details to go into. Earlier on in the stream, you mentioned to Guda-san in the final version that balance will be adjusted to take into the account the existence of skills that were not included in the open beta test. So that does mean that in Monster Hunter Wilds, the skill building system has changed a lot from what we know, right?
先ほどOBT に入ってなかったようなスキルの存在なども考慮して製品版の全コンテンツを通してバランスを検討されているとのことでしたが、確かにワイルズでスキルの仕組み自体を大きく変わっていると思うんですけど、そちらについてちょっと詳細に説明してもらえますでしょうか。
はい、OBT を受けた、調整内容とちょっと話が、変わりますけれども、インタビューなど以外ではちょっとこれまできちんと説明できていなかった部分でもありますので、ご紹介させていただきます。
Yeah, this is something that isn't strictly speaking a OBT feedback response, but it's something that I think I've mentioned a few times in interviews that have gone out with the previews, but I wanted to take the chance on today's stream just to kind of really make it clear exactly what the implications of this new system are. So let's take a look at an example with this screenshot.
今まではその防具のパーツに装備のスキルが、ついていましたけれども、特定の武器種にしか効果がないようなタイプのスキルが入っていると、その防具に合う武器種を選ぶしかなくなってしまったりだとか、切り合わせがしにくくなってしまうみたいなことが、発生している部分がありました。
So on previous titles, the place where you put equipment skills has always been the armor rather than the weapon, right? So that meant if you needed to equip skills that were sort of specific to a certain weapon or category of weapons, there was sort of an inevitability about certain skills and certain armor gear being the kind of only viable choice whenever you were going to go out with that particular weapon equipped, and that kind of limited, I think, the players' freedom to choose what exactly it was they wanted to wear.
今作ではメイン武器とサブ武器を切り替えられるように、なっていますので、これまでの仕組み、スキルの仕組みですと武器を切り替えた時に、せっかくのスキルビルドが無駄になってしまう場面が、出てきます。なので、今作では例えば攻撃とかガード性能のような、武器に紐づくようなスキルは武器側に、つく形にして、例えば早食いのような、補助的なスキルについては防具側につけるような形に、変更しております。
The other implication of the fact that in Monster Hunter Wilds you can bring a main weapon and a sub-weapon was that your carefully chosen skill build on your armor would be completely wasted and be for naught whenever you change weapon. Suddenly all of those skills that you'd equipped on the armor might not be relevant depending on what the second weapon was.
Sure.
So the system now has changed so that skills that are mostly tied to weapon functions, such as attack boost and guard, are now attached to the weapons themselves directly. And then other more supplementary skills, such as speed eating, are still attached to armor. And by separating out where the skills go, it means that your skill build will actually make a lot more sense even as you change weapons throughout the hunt.
Yeah, so this is a pretty significant change to how players are going to be able to build their sets, and hopefully it'll result in lots of variety in terms of the different weapons people use and different armor sets. But one question I had is, well, what happens when weapons are upgraded? Do these skills disappear, or what happens with them?
このシステムになって、例えば武器を強化して派生で新しい武器にしたときに、自分その入ってたスキルがなくなったりすることはあるのでしょうか？
はい、ここちょっと分かりにくいところなのですごくいい質問なんですけども、同じ武器派生の強化でスキルが消えることということは、ありません。
Yeah, that's a great question, and maybe a concern people might have had if it wasn't super clear how the system works. So it's a good chance to be very clear about it. Skills will never disappear from a weapon whenever you upgrade it within the same weapon tree.
今画面に映っているのが、ホープブレード2で、砥石高速化のスキルが、ついているかと思います。
So as you can see here on this screenshot, the Hope Blade 2 in the equipment info panel, you can see that it's got the speed sharpening equipment skill on it.
これを強化したスライドに変えていただきますと、
When you upgrade that, it changes to a different weapon, and I think we have a second screenshot prepared, which we can switch to now.
ホープブレード3に強化した形になると、砥石高速化のスキルはついたまま、見切りの、スキルが新たに追加されています。
So as you can see with this screenshot of the Hope Blade 3, the equipment skill speed sharpening has been retained, and we've got an additional skill called Critical Eye, which has been included with the upgraded weapon.
ですので、その、スキル自体はなくならずに。
Oh, it just occurred to me that is not a decoration. It's not a decoration. It's a skill on the weapon. It's a weapon skill. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. Of course, this is how it works. Yeah, that's a huge question then. It's a huge question. I'm glad they answered that. Wow. I'm an idiot. Wow.
別のものがついたり強化されたりしていきながら、武器派生を、強化していくことができます。
So as you can see, the skills didn't reduce, and some can be added, and also the level of existing skills might be increased the more you upgrade the weapon within the tree.
This is going to be a crazy Monster Hunter game, man. This is going to be crazy.
派生の武器になるほどですね、武器の方にもスロットが空いていて、そこに装飾品を入れることによって、自分好みのスキルビルドを楽しむことも、可能になります。
Also, in addition to these built-in equipment skills that are baked into each level of the weapon, there are, of course, decoration slots.
Yes.
So the further you go down the weapon tree, the more decoration slots will open up on the weapon at the higher levels, and that's going to let you create your own skill build to your own liking and combine the pre-built ones with the ones you add later using decorations.
I think that is really, really exciting. I mean, having the skill set this way means that, as we mentioned earlier, that there's going to be far less instances of there being a particular weapon that is the best for, multiple situations. And when you're building your sets, your weapon will
may or may
directly contribute to that. And also, you can switch between your weapons
make that problem worse.
Without it, neutering your armor set that you've kind of been meticulously building. So I'm really, really excited to see, one, what the community discover, and two, how they use it. And, I can't wait to see what all the different swords and shields have as well. So that's really, really cool. And now, let's move on a bit. Let's have a little chat about a few other things that we've seen in the beta and things like that. And there's one thing that kind of really stood out to Joe and I. And for anyone in the community who frequents the different Monster Hunter subreddits that are out there, and one of them was the most beautiful collage.
Yo,
it was
Tokuda, bro, giving us the bird. Yo, look at you're giving us the bird
that are out there.
Boom! Oh wow, man! I'm watching.
It was a collage of many hunters using shielded weapons, pulling the biggest frowns as they guarded against the wrath of monsters, kind of like a kind of face. Now, what's the situation with that? What's going on there, Takuda-san?
どのまで変顔してると思うんですけど、 最後の質問タイムに入らせていただきます。多くのプレイヤーが気づいた仕様としては、肩を構えた時に、ハンターが若干変顔になり気味だったんですけど、こちらは意図的な仕様なのか、修正されるものなのか教えてください。
はい、変顔にしたかったわけじゃなくて、武器を構えた時にその気張ったような顔に、したかったんですけど、まさかちょっとあそこまで気張った顔になってるとはちょっと想定外なところがありましたので、直します。
Yeah, thank you for your very demonstrative version of the face. My intention was to show that when someone grabs tight onto a shield to guard an attack, that they would sort of be, grimacing or have an intensity to the expression, but the way it turned out wasn't really what I wanted it to be. So we're going to change that in the final game and have it look a little bit less weird and a little bit more cool and intense.
That's not one of the things I
Well,
noticed.
I'm a little bit sad that it's being changed because it was extremely funny. Totally understand that, we want our hunters to be immersed in the world, and that's one of those things that might take you right out of it. So I want to switch gears a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about multiplayer. We did hear some feedback from players that they were a little bit confused on the different ways to get into multiplayer and just weren't quite sure how to play with their friends easily. So Tokuda-san, can you touch just a little bit on multiplayer and matching up with friends and how that's going to work in the full game?
Interesting.
変顔がなくなること自体は個人的には少し寂しい思いもあるんですけど、確かにかっこいい顔にしてもらえるんだったら製品版を楽しみにしますということです。次の質問になりますが、オープンベータで多くのプレイヤーからちょっとマルチプレイの仕様についてどういう風にやればいいかわからない。
Bro, stop giving us the bird, Takuda.
この仕様についてどう使ったらいいかちょっと使いづらく感じた人もだと思うんですけど、この辺について、製品版の仕様や、使い方のアドバイスを込みでアドバイスをお願いします。
はい、まず製品版では、ロビーの ID を教え合った人しか入れない、プライベートロビーという機能だったりとか、特定のサークルの人たちだけが集まれるサークルロビーのような、友達と会いやすい機能というのが追加されます。
So firstly, in the full game, there will be multiplayer features that weren't included in the open beta test, which I think will make it easier to get together with just the people you want to play with. So one of those will be private lobbies, which, as the name implies, they'll have a lobby ID and only those people who you've shared the ID with can join in. We'll also see the return of the squad system, and squad lobbies will be available only to your squad members, and that's going to make it so that you can, have your friends get together really easily.
またですね、OBT ではリンクパーティーや環境リンクといった機能が、入っていたんですけれども、これらは複数のフィールドが、ある状態で、各メンバーの環境が変化していく中で、有効に機能するようなものなので、一つのフィールドで変化の幅が少ない OBT だとちょっと分かりにくい機能に、なっていました。製品版の方では、リリース後にしかるべきタイミングで、情報を、発信していく予定になります。
On the flip side of that, there were features that were in the OBT that I think maybe didn't really, players didn't have a chance to really fully understand them, given the fact that the OBT was such a limited slice of the game.
Yeah, the lobby was a little
What I'm
strange,
talking
I'll be
about is
honest
the
with
link
you.
parties and
It was a
also in
little weird.
particular the environmental link feature. These are designed for the full game where across multiple different maps, each of which has varying weather conditions across different phases. If you imagine getting online, you and Jono and Joe want to play together with me, and we're all in different areas and we're not synchronized at all, so choosing which monster to hunt or whatever else might be difficult. The environmental link means we can kind of settle on a state for the game to be in and have that synchronized and make our gameplay go a lot smoother. With the OBT, you only had the windward plains and a limited amount of changeable extreme weather conditions, and I think a lot of players were a bit sort of having a question mark about what the functionality of these features were, but trust me, it'll make a lot more sense when the full game comes out, and we'll provide more details on how to use those effectively when the time comes.
No, I appreciate the details. I mean, it's really cool to hear that, you'll be able to have a lot more control over the multiplayer experience you want. So if you do want to play with just your pals, you can. If you want to play with your squad, or if you want to play with anyone in the world who's also playing, you can. So it's great to know that those options are going to be there for our community. And obviously, talking about multiplayer, Monster Hunter Wilds takes the multiplayer experience in Monster Hunter to a whole new level, the biggest it's ever been, with 100 player lobbies and camps that can hold up to 16 hunters at a time, which is fantastic. The kind of interactions we're all going to be able to have and that we had in the OBT.
Fantastic.
Obviously, but
the
with
level
that,
of
though,
pop-in will
there comes
be
a lot
like
of
never seen
chatter,
before.
a lot of stickers. And if someone's being a bit cheeky, they can, spam in stickers and excitement and things like that. So for those of us that, might want a slightly more relaxed public multiplayer experience around, chat and stickers, what's the situation there going forward?
マルチプレイの設定面といえばですけど、多くのプレイヤーから寄せてもらっているフィードバックとしては、これだけたくさんの人数のプレイヤーが同時につながっているロビーになってしまうと、どうしてもチャットの方でメッセージやステッカーがバババってちょっとスパムのように入ってきてしまって落ち着けないようなロビーになってしまっているという、フィードバックが多かったんですけど、こちらについて何か対策を考えられたりしますでしょうか？
はい、まず製品版の方では、特定の人の、発言を、自分の画面でミュートに、指定することが、できます。
Oh yeah, firstly in the full game, if one particular person is blowing up in the lobby chat, you'll be able to mute them. So that's a very targeted feature you'll be able to make use of.
またですね、クエストだったり、リンクパーティーを組んだときには、チャットチャンネルが自動で切り替わって、ロビーメンバーのチャット通知がされなくなるなど、いくつか対策を、入れていっています。
Also, we're going to adjust how the chat channels work whenever you do something like start a quest or a link party. What's going to happen is that the chat will automatically switch over to just the participants of that quest or that party, and you'll stop being notified of the general lobby chatter. And I think that will improve the feeling of whenever you start something with just your friends or other players, that it limits the range of who you're going to hear stuff from.
Cool. On it, yeah. The sticker spam in particular was something that I got a few messages about. And I watched a few streams during the open beta, and that was definitely something that people would have liked to adjust. So it's great to hear that's happening.
Don't be mad.
Something that I was really pleasantly surprised by when booting up the open beta were all the options for the different HUD display. To have it bigger, to adjust it whether you're sitting at a TV
Scaling
or you're
HUD
sitting
is nice.
at a desk.
Being able to scale the HUD
but
UI is
even
really
with that,
nice.
I think there are additional areas where that could be improved. So, what are our plans in the full game
are they going to
to
talk about art direction for the HUD?
adjust the HUD even further?
No. Is this happening? Is this happening? Is this happening? This is probably my biggest problem with Wilds right now. Is the HUD is so ugly, it doesn't even look like the right game.
の設定があったりしてかなり細かく入ってたと思うんですけど、さらに製品版に向けてHUDの表示のオプションを追加しようと思っているのでしょうか。
God, what are you saying?
そうですね、まずオプション以前にですね、そもそもの表示の部分で、武器の、固有の表示だったりだとか、一部の要素の大きさなど、見やすさに関わる調整っていうのは、入れていって、より見やすく、しています。
Well, firstly, even before we get into the idea of options you can change, I am looking at feedback on the size of the specific weapon unique UI elements that each weapon has. And we're going to review those and make sure that by the time the game comes out that the relative sizes of all those elements is going to make sense for everyone.
Whatever.
のアップデートで、オプションなどの拡充というのも、随時検討しております。
As for additional UI options, we're considering if we can add any in future post-launch updates, so stay tuned on that.
Nice. Watch this space. Now,
sounds like
thank
they're
you
just
so
talking
much for
about
answering all these
adjustments.
questions so far, to Good-san. And, we
Sounds
are
like
getting near the
revamped
end
UI that looks
of
good is
the
not
pre-launch
part
community
of the
update
cards.
stream. So I have one small question that you may have seen amongst the community and one that Joe and I see everywhere.
How much
And,
has we got left?
let's just between us, we'll keep it between us.
Another 10 minutes.
Is there going to be another open beta test before launch?
Oh, lay it on me. Yeah,
こちらからの最後の質問になるんですけど、毎日のようにコミュニティマネージャーの方の DM やインボックスにも入ってる質問なので、どうしても聞かせてほしいんですが、ここだけの話、ぶっちゃけ OBT はまた次回遊べる機会があるのでしょうか。教えてください、徳田さん。
完全に領土さんとかが答えるような案件だと思うんですけども、特別にお答えすると、検討自体は、しています。ですがもし 追加の OBT を実施するとしてもですね、基本的には前回の OBT を遊べなかった方だったりだとか、その追加の、項目テストが、主な目的となりますので、今日お話したような、内容っていうのは基本的に製品版とか Day1 パッチ向けの対応になっていますので、OBT には反映されない、形になります。ちょっとその点はご了承いただきたいです。
And that's the kind of question where I'm used to leaving out to Ryozo, who'd be here with us, and he could answer that kind of high-level
he's gonna leave us
decision.
on the hook, man.
But since you've asked, I will address that. We are considering if we will bring back the open beta test, but I would need to make clear that that would purely be essentially another chance for players who missed it the first time around to get a chance to try the game again, and we might maybe be able to add a couple of additional options here or there for people to try out. It wouldn't be something where all the various detailed weapon adjustments we've discussed today would be included. Those are strictly being worked on the basis of including them in the full game, including the day one patch. So again, it's
obvious
something we haven't ruled out yet. Is bringing back the
I might be okay with
test,
that. Give me the fucking old busted jank version.
I'll
play it again, maybe.
Play
it
all the
again.
Wonderful changes we've discussed today, and hopefully you can understand why we've had to separate those two considerations.
All right. Yeah. Well, we'll have to stay tuned for the future for any news. We have covered so much today. I think this has been quite a long stream already.
This has been a lot.
Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you'd like to discuss before we wrap things up?
今日は結構長時間にかけていろんな詳細について教えてもらえたの
This
で
man has
すご
done a
く良かったで
fantastic
すが
job translating. I said
逆
I was
に
excited
所
to
さん
watch
の
him
方
work,
から
and he is not disappointed.
ジョノたちからの質問でカバーできていないポイントがあればこの機会にどうぞ教えてください。
はい、この前のメディアプレビューツアーのインタビューでちょっと一つ、言い間違いをしたところがありますので訂正させていただきたいです。
Yeah, there's actually something, it's not so much new information, but I want to have the chance to clarify and maybe make up for a misstatement I might have made during some of the press interviews that we had about the game. So that's something I'd like to discuss now.
サポートハンターが傷を壊さないオプションがあるというふうに言ってしまったんですけど、そちらは電話には入らない形になります。
I think in at least one interview I said that there would be an option in the game where you could set it so that the support hunters who can join you via the SOS flare would not go and break wounds for you, that they'd leave that for you. And that's something that actually won't be in the game on day one.
発売日の仕様としては、プレイヤーが傷をつけてからしばらくの間、壊さないんですけど、1分以上ある程度経つとですね、集中弱点攻撃を使用して傷を破壊することが、発生するようになります。
So the way it's going to work at launch is that if you inflict a wound, but you, for whatever reason, you're not really proactively breaking that wound with your own focus strike, and a certain amount of time passes, maybe a minute or more passes, and you still haven't gone for it, that's the point at which the support hunters will start to look to use a focus strike to break the wound for you.
Interesting.
サポートハンターの、キャラクターによって壊しやすいだったり、壊しにくいだったり、あと乗りやすい、乗りにくいだったり、先行玉を使ってくれやすいみたいな、行動特性というのはキャラクターによって異なります。
That's something that's sort of unique to each support hunter's personality, though. Each character has a slightly different approach and an AI working for them. So whether or not they're quicker on the draw with focus strikes or less so, it also applies to other features like how often they might try and mount a monster, whether they find mounting harder, whether they're busting out things like flash pods more often or less often. Those all kind of depend on the character themselves. So it's not something that's going to happen on a strict schedule, no matter what.
どのサポートハンターに来てほしいかという指定は、発売時はできないんですけど、タイプトルアップデートでは、検討しております。
So the option that I'm looking to add, perhaps in a title update after launch, is letting players specify which NPC support hunters can join them and which ones they don't want to join them. So that's how I intend to add the ability to control the frequency of that particular feature.
Cool.
あと細かいことですけど、Day 1パッチだとお供とかサポートハンターがサインを送ると自分のところに来てくれるようになって便利になってます。
Relatedly, one additional feature I wanted to confirm was when you use the signal, this sort of ping that you activate through the menus, the palicos and the support hunters will come to your side during a hunt. So that's just a little quality of life feature that we've added.
Interesting.
Oh, that's really, really cool. And
like
yeah,
it.
thank you for the little tidbits of information there.
Actually,
we really appreciate it, Takura-san.
Sunbreak. I thought
And
that
with
was
that, I think we were kind of coming to the
you know,
end of our pre-launch
not for
community
everybody,
update.
but it was cool that they're there.
So we hope you've all enjoyed it. Joe, anything you want to say before we pass over to Takura-san and Patrick?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody out there for sharing their feedback. I know we say a lot that we are listening, and hopefully you guys feel that way after seeing all the updates here. And definitely want to take the chance to thank Takura-san for joining us. This has been super informative, and I know you're super busy, and the team is extremely busy getting the game ready for launch, so we very much appreciate it. And I'd like to toss it over to you for any closing remarks here.
今日は非常に珍しい機会として直接いろんなお話を聞けて、徳田さんにはこの発売直前のご多忙中の時期にこれだけお時間いただいて非常に感謝しております。最後に徳田さんからユーザーへのメッセージなどあればお願いします。
はい、まずこのような直接ユーザーの皆さんに声を届ける機会を作ってくれた、ジョーとジョの、パトリック、またサポートをしてくれた皆さんに、感謝、申し上げます。
Firstly, let me take the chance to thank you guys, Jono and Joe, the community managers, as well as Patrick. It's always slightly weird to refer to yourself when you're translating, but let me go with it. Thank you for your support in setting up this opportunity today.
イギリスとアメリカ、日本と
3拠点で時差も大きい中、
すごく大変な作業だと思ってますが、ありがとうございました。
Yeah, we're working across 3 time zones here, so I'm in Tokuda-san, that is in Japan. Jono and Patrick are in the UK, and Joe is in the US, so it's difficult to coordinate across so many time zones, so thank you for your work on that.
また改めまして、OBT に、ご参加いただき、様々なご意見をいただきましたハンターの皆さんに、感謝申し上げます。OBT ではたくさんの声をいただいてからですね、チームの働きだったり製品のクオリティの向上というのは、本当に目覚しいものがありまして、今もそれが続いています。ご期待いただけるってことがこんなにも力になるんだなってことを、改めて実感しています。
Just another, to repeat my previous sentiments, thank you so much to all the players who took part in the OBT.
You're welcome.
It's such a valuable opportunity for us to get your feedback and hear your voices, and we've taken that back to the team. It's become great motivation for them to keep working on the game's quality as we reach the final stages of development. And from what I've seen, they're doing great things, and there's some really great eye-opening stuff happening with the game, and we're continuing to work on that. So again, thank you for the opportunity to implement your feedback in the game.
It really is a pleasure. And once again, to echo Joe, thank you to Takura-san for your time. We know how incredibly busy yourself and the team are. Thank you, Patrick, for translating for us today. It's great to have you with us again after you joined us at Gamescom. And, from all of us here as well, thank you to you, the community, our awesome players. I mean, your feedback from the beta, your patience, your passion, it really is incredible. So thank you so much. And
you
does anyone have any ideas the best way to round this off, Joe, perhaps?
We wouldn't dare do a happy hunting across multiple time zones. You'll see the lag, but we should do it. We should try it, right?
All right. Do you want to give us a countdown?
ちょっと最後にどうしてもタイムラグが発生すると思うんですけど、人狩り行こうぜの英語になるハッピーハンティングで最後の掛け声でカウントダウンの後にお願いします。
OK
Okay, I'll do the countdown. All right, ready? All right, 3, 2, 1. Happy hunting! We tried.
Bye, everyone.
All right, thank you, everybody. One more.
One more. What are you?
Okay.
Takura, bro.
3, 2,
No.
1. Happy hunting!
It was better.
Yeah.
Maybe they should do it again.
Thank you.
I like this game. Oh, bye. Yeah, okay. Wow. All right, man. Cool. Joe, Jono, thank you guys. Patrick, phenomenal job translating. Takura-san, thank you guys all so much for putting that on. That was great, fun content. Most exciting things definitely gonna be those weapon updates, boy. Sword and Shield. Ooh, Lance getting them changes. Getting them changes. Very, very excited to see that. Oh, and getting to see the changes to hit stop, that, I gotta say, that did make me feel like the developers are listening. A lot of developers say that, and some developers listen too much. I do appreciate expressly how much Takara-san and the rest of Capcom's Monster Hunter team tries to strike a balance between listening to the fans and taking the fans, the community's comments into consideration, but not listening to them too much and taking everything they say with a grain of salt and not giving in to all of the demands of the community. It's good. It's a hard balance to strike, I imagine. And the community does know what's best a lot of the time, but sometimes the community has no idea what they're talking about, So yeah, I don't envy their position, but I'm really thrilled that right now it feels like they are taking our opinions into consideration and crafting the best Monster Hunter game they can craft. I mean, that's just so exciting. This is what's so exciting about Monster Hunter, man. I've been playing video games since I was a kid, man, and you don't see franchises like this one every decade. It's chef's kiss. On that note, ladies and gentle hunters, thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, please like, comment, subscribe, bell icon, the things. I think commenting will probably be the best right now to help get the channel off the ground, help get that algorithm playing to us, get the algorithm working. You can catch me on Wednesday and Friday nights at twitch.tv/Colonel_Frank. And you can support me on patreon.com/TubaXXXL. Going to be coming up on a little bit of a slower time because we got Christmas next week, my favorite holiday. I'll see if I can get a video out for Christmas. No promises. But after that, going into the new year, you got nothing but Monster Hunter content, baby. Tons of Monster Hunter content planned. But until next time, I'll see you in the wilds.